Who was Nero? Although Nero is best remembered for fiddling while Rome burned and for his subsequent persecution of Christians, his life was far stranger and more complex. Nero was exposed to power at a very young age, which made him very misunderstood, which shows in his rise to power, his sudden fall, and his legacy. Point 1. Nero's rise to power, accomplished by his mother's careful planning, helped to bring about a Roman golden age. However, with success have gone to his head, he started indulging in increasingly strange and dangerous behaviors. Nero was born Lucius Dominus Enobarus on 12/15/37 in Antium. He was Augustus Caesar's great-great-grandson. Nero was a very unlikely emperor. His mother's, Agrippina, the younger, negotiated up the ranks of the family. She worked hard but eventually got Nero to the throne. Nero's mom was very close to him as he was close to his mom. For the first 5 years, Nero's mom was she was planning out his whole life before his eyes. And doing this, she made different things, like, for instance, making Nero's password, quote, "My mom is the best," end quote, by Patima Mater. So she was doing things that kind of kept her in power, but, like, controlling him. So doing things for her through him, since he had the throne. For the first 5 years of Nero's reign, it was considered the peak in Roman history, which improved all Romans' lives, sought to return the Augustan age. He reduced tones, he established building codes, provided poor with free entertainment, and this is where the decline began, with the entertainment. He started reading poems and enjoying theater, which ended up making him enter in competitions. He soon required people to come to his performances and were not allowed to leave. It got so bad, that some women even gave birth in these. He ended up getting divorces. He divorced his wife and executed her, and ended up marrying Poppaea 12 days after. 12 days after he got married, he got upset with her because she got mad that he came back too late to his house, and he ended up kicking her to death. After this, he felt very guilty and found a young man named Sporus who dressed him up as his late wife and married him, and they both lived forever until Nero died. He did other very increasingly strange things, like breaking into people's houses, stealing their things, and just like basically telling them, "Shh, it's okay, I'm the emperor." He just kept going with this. After he would steal it, he had like a yard sale outside of the place where he would do his performances and sell all of the items that he stole at night. So basically just increasingly doing stranger and stranger things. His mom got concerned about what he was doing and kept surveillance on him. He ended up trying to kill her from he got like a little beach house basically, and it was like, "Here's your bed, the ceiling's not going to collapse on you." She ended up escaping, not getting killed, and he sent her on a boat, purposely trying to make the boat sink, and it did, but she swam to shore, and when the security walked over to her and said, "We're going to have to kill you," she pointed to her belly and said, "Stab me here, because this is where the monster came from." So all in all, Nero was increasingly doing very, very strange things. And over the first 5 years, it was going very, very good. But later on, it started declining a bit more and more. Point 2. After the remarkable success of his first 5 years in office, Nero's strange behavior was increasingly matched by his lack of focus on imperial matters. As his empire fell into chaos, his opponents looked for an opportunity to replace him. Nero's behavior became increasingly erratic. His reign continued with until AD 60, until what the threats began. On 1964, a fire started in Circus Maximus Stadium in Rome, now the capital of Italy. 6 days later, the fire was extinguished, and 10 out of 14 districts were burned in Rome. To stop the rumors that Nero, set Rome on fire, he falsely charged the guilt and punished the Christians by tortures and crucifixion and fire. On March 68th, Gaius Vindex rebelled against Nero's tax politics. He partnered with the governor of Spain, Galba, and battled at Vestinio. In May 68, Vindex was defeated and commit suicide. The legions tried to proclaim commander emperor. The Praetorian Guard supported Galba, who would become the next emperor. Fearing for his life, Nero headed to part of the Ostia in hopes of escaping eastward to build a new army. When his commanders refused to assist him, Nero realized his plans were not going to happen. He ended up walking through other options, but ended up returning to Rome and sleeping in his bed and falling asleep. In the middle of the night, he woke up and found that all of his bodyguards were gone, and there was no one in the palace. A quote by Tacius says, quote, "In their very deaths, they were made subjects of sport," about all the Christians that were killed. Point 2. Nero struggled with the Roman aristocracy, and his ignominious death, which brought about the end of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, led his legacy to be tarnished by the following years. Additionally, his persecution of believers was made a permanent impact on his legacy. Nero tried to escape to Phaon's villa, which was 4 miles outside of Rome, because he thought that people were going to chase him and try to kill him when he realized that he escaped. He realized that there was no getting out of this, and he decided to kill himself. He cut his throat, and some soldiers came over and tried to save him when he said, quote, "It's too late. This is too late. This is my loyalty," end quote. Nero was the last emperor from the first dynasty of the historians were overly negative in accounts of Nero's reign. Some even think that Nero was the Antichrist. Overall, his mom had too big of an impact on his early life, which caused him to go downhill. So Nero ended up killing himself, and the funny thing is that the guards actually were like, we weren't even going to kill him, we were just going to put him in jail. So he ended up killing himself for no reason. But overall, Nero wasn't as bad of a person that many people think that he was. It was his influence on his mom's early life. It was his influence in his early life by his mother, who ended up increasing the ranks and making him the emperor at a very, very young age, that caused him to go south and do things that other emperors wouldn't have done, like stealing people's things or making everyone go to his performances. And because of this, people started increasingly not like him and wanted to replace him, which ended up leading to his death, which was then tarnished by scholars due to his effect on how he killed the Christians for burning Rome, which they didn't do. A quote by Nero says when he killed himself, "What an artist the world is losing," end quote. So, although Nero is best remembered for fiddling while Rome burned and for his subsequent persecution of Christians, his life was far stranger and more complex. Nero was exposed to power at a very young age, which made him very misunderstood, which shows in his rise to power, his sudden fall, and his legacy. Thank you.